My name is Scarlett Rhodes. I'm 29 years old, and for a long time I thought I was living a dream. Not because my life was perfect, but because I truly believed I had somehow won something I didn't deserve. That something was Liam Carter, 28, a personal trainer with an impossibly photogenic smile and an Instagram following hovering around 75K. When we met 2 years ago at the gym, he looked at me like I was the only person in the room, and that look, God, I mistook it for love. I didn't know then that Liam didn't fall in love with people, he fell in love with audiences, and I was about to become his most loyal one. At first, it felt flattering, surreal even. Here I was, a software engineer making decent money, 145K a year, always in hoodies and messy buns, being noticed by someone who literally had strangers calling him goals and husband material in his comments. When he asked me out, I said yes so quickly I forgot to breathe. I kept waiting for him to realize he'd made a mistake. Instead, he kept reminding me how lucky I was. At first, it sounded like teasing. You know, other girls would kill to date me. Scarlett, you don't get it. Guys like me don't usually pick quiet, nerdy girls. I'm the prize here, babe. Just don't forget that. He always laughed after saying it, but his eyes never did. Little by little, tiny compromises I made in the name of love became a full-time, unpaid internship. I planned every date because, in his words, you're better at logistics. I paid for dinners because my influencer income is unpredictable. You make real money. I drove everywhere because parking downtown stresses me out. You don't mind, right? I photographed his content because you have a good eye and lighting hates me. I adjusted my schedule around his because creative work can't be rushed. You know how it is. Except I did know how it was, at least for me. Code doesn't care about feelings or aesthetic inspiration. Deadlines don't shift because Mercury's in retrograde. But I swallowed it all, telling myself this was normal, that relationships require compromise, that maybe I was lucky to have him. It didn't help that his best friend Paige recited the same hymn on repeat. Girl, you're so patient with Scarlett. I could never date someone that ordinary. She'd say it right in front of me, like I wasn't even human. They'd laugh like it was a private joke. Meanwhile, Liam's couple post captions always read, "When you're the hot one in the relationship." And in every photo, his face front and center, mine cut off, blurred, or cropped at the cheekbone. I told myself I was overthinking. I told myself I was being sensitive. I told myself I was lucky. I told myself lies. The tipping point wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't involve shouting or broken plates. It was quiet, simple, a moment where something inside me finally cracked open. Liam had once mentioned wanting to visit the San Juan Islands. It was a throwaway comment, something casual, but I held on to it like it was a promise. I spent weeks planning a surprise trip: hotel, ferry tickets, dinner reservations, an $800 itinerary I was genuinely excited about. Saturday morning, I woke up full of that childlike anticipation, the kind that hits you like sunlight through a window. Liam was still in bed, scrolling with a frown. "Morning," I smiled. "Ready for the islands?" He looked at me like I'd asked him to swim to Alaska. "I don't feel like going today." I thought he was joking. He wasn't. "Liam, the ferry leaves in 2 hours. Everything's booked." He shrugged. "I'm having a bad skin day. I need to post content. My schedule changed. You should have checked first." My heart dropped. "I did check 3 weeks ago. You said yes." "Well, things change, Scarlett. Just cancel it. It's non-refundable." He rolled his eyes. "Why are you being so difficult? It's just money. You make good money." I stood there holding 2 packed bags, watching him scroll through other influencers' posts. People he admired more than he ever admired me. $800. Weeks of planning. All of it dismissed like lint on his sleeve. Something inside me hollowed out. So I went alone. The ferry felt like a confession I hadn't meant to make. I ate at the restaurant I'd booked for two, watched the sunset from a balcony meant for a couple, took one photo, just the horizon. No caption, no explanation. Liam texted me an hour later. "Wow, passive-aggressive much? You're really going without me?" Sitting at that restaurant table set for two, something sharpened inside me. A clarity I hadn't felt in a long time. For 2 years I'd performed, accommodated, planned, paid, photographed, validated. And for 2 years, he'd treated my effort like his entitlement. When had I stopped being his girlfriend and become his employee? When I drove home Sunday evening, I felt strangely calm. Liam was in my apartment. Of course he was. He had a key. He lay on my couch, eating the expensive snacks I always bought for him, scrolling like nothing had happened. Hey, babe, he said. Hope you're not still being dramatic about yesterday. I made us reservations for Tuesday to make up for it. That word, dramatic, suddenly felt like an insult carved down to bone. I lowered my keys onto the counter. Liam, I said quietly, we're done. He laughed, actually laughed. Because of that trip? Jesus, Scarlett, don't be so dramatic. Not just the trip, everything. I'm exhausted. I need you to leave. His laughter died. You're breaking up with me? Do you know how many women would love to be in your position? Then you should date one of them. For the first time in 2 years, Liam looked genuinely stunned. You're serious? Scarlett, you can't. I am. Please leave. He grabbed his things in a fury, fully expecting me to chase him, to apologize, to explain. I didn't. I held the door open. As he stormed out, he turned back once more. You'll regret this, Scarlett. You'll never find anyone like me. I met his eyes. I'm counting on it. I closed the door, blocked his number, blocked every account, changed my passwords. For the first time in years, my apartment felt peaceful. But some part of me knew. Liam wasn't done with me. Not by a long shot. 2 months. It's strange how quickly life can heal when the source of the bleeding is finally gone. The first morning after the breakup, I woke up expecting the usual tug of anxiety, the mental checklist of what Liam needed, what content he was planning, what mood he'd be in. But the apartment was silent, still, peaceful, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. I threw myself into work, not to escape, but because I suddenly remembered what it felt like to be good at something. I started going to a different gym to avoid Liam's clients, reconnected with friends I'd neglected, cooked dinner for myself without worrying if it was Instagrammable. My sister Kelsey nearly cried from relief when I told her, Scarlett, finally! That man was exhausting just to hear about. My coworker Bennett was less diplomatic. Took you long enough. He treated you like staff, not a partner. They weren't wrong. Meanwhile, Liam went through an impressive list of attempts to get my attention. Calls from random numbers, emails ranging from "we need to talk" to "you're being cruel," fake Instagram accounts, showing up at places he thought I might be. The doorman at my building started recognizing him and stopped letting him up. I stayed silent. No anger, no responses, just absence. And absence, I learned, is something narcissists cannot tolerate. A week into month 2, I got promoted, senior engineer, a salary bump to $175K. I bought the motorcycle Liam used to mock as a midlife crisis fantasy. I posted a picture of it. Not me, not my face, just the bike and the sky. The comments were wholesome. People congratulated me with no ulterior motives. Something about that picture, that small display of joy without him, must have set something off. Because that's when the reports started rolling in. Mutual acquaintances from the gym told me, Liam saw your post. He said, he's supposed to be miserable. He? I almost laughed. He was still talking about me like he was the sun I was orbiting. But apparently the sun was dimming. Word was, when a friend suggested maybe I was faking happiness, Liam went quiet. No, Scarlett doesn't fake things. She actually moved on. And just like that, cracks appeared in his confidence. Paige told people Liam was glowing up after dropping dead weight. But people started asking questions he didn't like. His vague stories about, when someone shows you who they are, knowing your worth, removing negativity, didn't fit the timeline of his earlier humble brags. Some comments under his posts were brutal. Wait, didn't she break up with you? Weren't you the one cropping her out of photos? Why do your stories contradict each other? Those comments disappeared fast, but pixels don't lie, and the internet loves a messy timeline. He started showing up at the coffee shop near my office, a climbing gym I mentioned once, the grocery store I used to shop at on Thursdays. Every time I saw him walk in, trying to act casual, I simply left. No confrontation, no acknowledgement, just complete cold indifference. Bennett witnessed one encounter. He looked like he'd seen a ghost when you just walked away. Ghost wasn't the right word. I wasn't a ghost. I was someone who no longer recognized him as the center of her universe. And nothing is scarier to someone like Liam than losing gravity. It was a coworker's birthday, a bar downtown. Dim lights, cheap beer, music loud enough to feel, not hear. I was happy, genuinely happy, laughing, leaning back in my chair, feeling more like myself than I had in years. Then I saw him, Liam, scanning the room with sharp, hunting eyes. When he spotted me, he walked over with that determined, performative confidence he always used in public. Scarlett, we need to talk. Bennett's eyebrows shot up. I kept my voice calm. There's nothing to talk about. Just 5 minutes outside, please. I shook my head. Say what you need to say here, or not at all. He hesitated. The table full of coworkers staring made him uneasy, but then he pulled out a chair and sat down uninvited. "I've been thinking," he began, "about us, about what went wrong." I said nothing. I think we both made mistakes. That was his second mistake. "I didn't make mistakes," I said. "I made choices. I chose to leave because you treated me like your assistant, not your girlfriend." Liam flushed. "That's not fair. I loved you. I was confident. There's nothing wrong with knowing your worth." "There's everything wrong with making your partner feel worthless." A few coworkers exhaled quietly. Liam's voice cracked. "You don't understand. You were my best friend, my partner." I was so calm, even I was surprised. "You don't miss me, Liam. You miss what I did for you. The planning, the paying, the photographing, the validating, the convenience." His eyes turned watery. Anger or humiliation, I couldn't tell. "How can you say that? After everything?" "After everything?" I leaned forward slightly. "After 2 years of reminding me how lucky I was? 2 years of making me earn basic decency?" Bennett finally chimed in. "Liam, she's done. Respect that." Liam snapped. "This doesn't concern you." Bennett didn't even blink. "Actually, it does. I watched you treat her like garbage while convincing her she should feel lucky about it." The table went silent. Liam's face went red, the kind of red people feel, not show. He stood abruptly, chair scraping the floor. At the doorway, he looked back. "You'll never find anyone like me." I smiled. "I'm counting on it." The table erupted into laughter, but I didn't laugh. I just breathed. Because in that moment, watching him walk away, humiliated, powerless, exposed, I realized I wasn't afraid of him anymore, and that terrified him more than anything. Honestly, that was his first mistake. 8 months. That's how long it took for my life to transform so completely that sometimes I forget what it used to feel like. The heaviness, the vigilance, the constant emotional performance. 8 months since I let go of Liam Carter. 8 months since I stopped trying to earn a love that never loved me back. What I didn't expect was how much life there is on the other side of silence. The life I built without him. The house came first. A small, quiet place on the edge of the city. Mine, entirely mine. With a garage for the motorcycle and a deck that caught morning sunlight like it was painted just for me. Every time I brewed coffee in that kitchen, I felt a little freer. Work was thriving. I had been leading the big project everyone on my team whispered about with equal parts fear and admiration. A year ago, Liam would have rolled his eyes and said, "Babe, you're such an overachiever. Just chill." Now my boss said words like promotion and future director with actual sincerity. I didn't realize how suffocating emotional labor could be until I stopped doing it. Weekends became joy again. Motorcycle rides through the Pacific Northwest, brunches with friends, hikes without needing to photograph anything for someone else's feed, and cautiously, dating. Nothing serious, not because I was afraid, but because I wanted to learn who I was without someone evaluating me. That's when I started therapy. The therapy that changed everything. Dr. Williams was blunt in the kindest way. The first thing she asked me was, "Why did you let him decide your worth?" I tried to explain the charm, the attention, the initial sweetness. She didn't flinch. "Scarlett, manipulative people are the most charming. That's how they get you." We unpacked everything. The subtle negging, the constant reminders that Liam was the prize, the way he weaponized my empathy against me. One session, she said something that lodged itself in my chest. "You taught him how to treat you by valuing him more than yourself. When you accept crumbs and call it a feast, you train people to think crumbs are enough." It was a punch to the heart and a balm at the same time. I realized I had performed for so long that I didn't notice I'd forgotten how to simply exist. Liam's spiral into irrelevance. Meanwhile, Liam wasn't doing well. I didn't follow him, still blocked, but mutual friends had a habit of sending updates whether I wanted them or not. His once polished feed became inconsistent. His captions grew erratic. Contradictions, vague frustrations, dramatic quotes that didn't line up with the timeline of our breakup. His follower count was slipping. Brands quietly backed away. Paige stopped appearing in his stories. Apparently she'd told someone. He's been impossible, like he's falling apart. Some nights I almost felt bad. Almost. But then I'd remember the years of comments like, "You're lucky I picked you. Girls like you don't usually get guys like me." And the guilt dissolved. One afternoon, Kelsey called. "Saw Liam today. He looks rough, like he hasn't slept right in weeks." I stayed quiet. "Are you okay?" she asked. I realized something. Hearing about his downfall didn't make me happy. It didn't make me sad. It made me nothing. And nothing is the most powerful feeling of all. The driveway. It was a Saturday morning. Warm, clear, perfect. I had the garage door open, music playing softly while I worked on my motorcycle. Oil rag in one hand, sunlight warming my shoulders. Domestic peace I had earned. Then a car pulled into my driveway. I knew before I even saw him. There's a tension your body remembers, even after your heart forgets. Liam stepped out. He looked like a different version of the man I once knew. Thinner, eyes tired, energy brittle instead of bright. I didn't panic, I didn't shake, I just waited. He walked toward me with rehearsed determination. "Scarlett," he said, voice tight. "Please, just listen." I set my tools down slowly. "You need to leave." But he didn't. His confession. He swallowed hard. "I've been in therapy. I've realized things. I was insecure. I projected it onto you. I made you feel small because I was terrified you'd leave. I kept working on the bike, not to be cruel, but because I had nothing left to give him." He continued, voice cracking. "You were never the problem, Scarlett. I was. I see it now. I was wrong. About everything." I finally turned to him. His eyes were wet. His hands trembled. But I felt nothing. Not anger, not sympathy, not fear. Just closure. The last conversation. "Liam," I said softly, "I'm glad you're in therapy. I truly am. But your realizations are 8 months too late." His face crumpled. "Don't you miss what we had?" "No," I answered honestly. "What we had was me performing and you evaluating. That's not love. That's an audition that never ends." He looked around, at the house, the bike, the quiet proof that I'd built a full life without him. And then he whispered something that broke whatever pride he had left. I was supposed to be the prize. That was the moment I finally saw him clearly. Not as a villain, not as a narcissist, but as a deeply insecure man who had clung to arrogance like armor. "Actual value doesn't need to remind the world it's valuable," I said gently. "It just is." He stared at me, devastated. I didn't flinch. "You weren't the prize, Liam. You were the exhausting job I finally quit." The words hit him like a collapse, shoulders dropping, eyes glazing, breath faltering. Without another word, he turned and walked back to his car. He didn't slam the door. He didn't yell. He simply drove away. And it didn't feel like victory. It didn't feel like loss. It felt like peace. 8 months ago, I would have broken down after a conversation like that, replaying it, doubting myself, wondering if I was too harsh. Now, I went inside, showered, and met Bennett for lunch. He asked how it went. I shrugged. "She still doesn't get it?" he asked. I corrected softly. And no, but it doesn't matter. For the first time in my life, it truly didn't. 8 months felt like a lifetime. Not because they were long, but because they were mine. Every sunrise on my deck, every ride along the coastline, every night I slept without someone's expectations weighing on my chest. They stitched me back together in ways I didn't know I needed. When I look back on the woman I used to be, the one who thought she should feel grateful to be chosen, I want to hold her hand. Tell her she was never the lucky one. Tell her she was never the project, never the understudy, never the consolation prize. Tell her she was the story, and she just forgot. The life after him. My house has become a sanctuary, small but warm, quiet but alive with the things I choose to fill it with. In the mornings, I stand on the deck with my coffee, listening to the trees sway. It sounds simple, but there's something holy about silence you don't have to earn. Sometimes I look at the motorcycle parked in my garage and think about how hard Liam laughed when I said I wanted one. "Babe, you? A motorcycle? Come on." He said it like it was a punchline. Now I ride every weekend. Through forests, up mountains, along the ocean cliffs, and every time the wind hits my face, I feel like I'm reclaiming a piece of my soul. At work, the project I've been leading is about to wrap, and my manager already hinted at another promotion. A year ago, Liam would have said, "You're already doing too much." But now I'm doing exactly enough, for me, not for applause, not for approval. For the first time in my adult life, I feel rooted. And then there's dating. I don't rush it, I don't cling to it, I don't perform in it. I meet people, talk, laugh, enjoy what's there without turning it into a test of my worth. Someone recently told me, "You have this peaceful energy about you." I smiled, because peace used to feel like a luxury item, something I couldn't afford. Now it feels like the baseline. Liam's echoes. He's not really part of my life anymore, but sometimes life leaves echoes. Friends would occasionally mention he looked thinner, tired, older than 2 years. With me, ever made him look. Paige once told someone she was done managing his emotions. And predictably, his Instagram became a tragic theater show. Dramatic quotes about heartbreak, vague accusations about narcissists, Contradictory timelines. Growth journeys. That didn't match any kind of growth. Someone sent me a screenshot one day. When someone discards you, just remember, losing you was their biggest mistake. It was hard not to laugh. I didn't discard him. I released him. There's a difference. A strange kind of closure. One late evening, I sat with Dr. Williams, telling her about Liam's visit to my driveway. The tears in his eyes, the desperation in his voice, the admission he never would have made a year ago. She listened quietly. Then, did you walk away feeling powerful? I thought about it. Powerful wasn't the right word. Relieved wasn't either. Vengeful definitely wasn't. I walked away feeling indifferent, I said. She smiled. That's what healing looks like. And I realized something that changed everything. I didn't win because Liam cried. I didn't win because his influencer life fell apart. I didn't win because he regretted losing me. I won because I stopped auditioning. The final echo. Last night, lying in bed with my curtains open, watching the city glow in pockets of orange and blue, I got a message from Kelsey. A screenshot. From Liam's Instagram story. Black background. White text. Sometimes losing someone is them winning. She added 6 laughing emojis. At first, I didn't react. I just stared at it. Because he didn't realize something so beautifully ironic. He meant it as a dagger, but it was the truth. I did win. Not in the petty, triumphant way he imagined. I didn't dance on his downfall or toast to his heartbreak. I won quietly. In the soft mornings. In the nights without anxiety. In the friendships I rebuilt. In the work I thrived in the hobbies I rediscovered. I won when I stopped fighting for someone who only loved himself. I won when I stopped believing love meant shrinking so someone else could shine. I won the moment I realized the prize was never him. It was my self-respect, and I finally took it back. Who I am now. I'm not looking to be anyone's prize anymore, and I'm not offering myself as one either. I no longer want a man who needs to be worshipped. I want a man who meets me eye to eye, heart to heart, where both of us stand on the same ground. Love shouldn't feel like a competition, or a performance, or an audition. It should feel like peace. These days, I'm open to love again, but on equal footing. If someone wants to walk beside me, they can. If they think I should feel grateful for the opportunity, they're welcome to keep walking. The road is long, open, beautiful, and finally mine. My life is no longer a stage, no longer a camera, no longer a place to prove I'm worthy. It's a home, a journey, a story I'm writing for myself. And for once, I don't need anyone to applaud. I just need the truth. And the truth is simple. I didn't lose Liam. I lost the illusion that I needed him. And that was the real win.